Peace, family. Y'all know who it is. It's Dr. Picard K. Lumumba, the progenitor of LumumbaSpeaks.com. Back once again, we have another great video in conjunction with, of course, the Equaline Network, the Pan-African social media extraordinaire, in the home of African-centered news and information. We're going to be discussing something that's really ripped from the headlines. I think we might be having some issues technically. I don't know if you all can hear me. Put a 1 in the chat if you can hear me. Put a 2 in the chat if you cannot hear me. Put a 1 in the chat if you can hear me. A 2 in the chat if you cannot hear me. But we're going to be talking about the NAACP leader in, I believe it's Portsmouth, VA, actually supporting the track athlete that injured Black young lady. Many of you may be unaware of the issue, but we're going to make sure that we bring you up to breast on the situation. Once again, family, if you're watching, make sure you hit the subscribe and like button, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up, and hit the notification bell. You're watching, of course, LumumbaSpeaks.com, a Black empowerment initiative where we believe we could gain a competitive advantage for always betting on Black, in conjunction, of course, with Equaline Network, the Pan-African social media extraordinaire, in the home of African-centered news and information. So very quickly, family, I'm going to read this, of course, report from my Fox 8. So we definitely want to hear from him. So the headline of the article states, I share my screen so you all can see what I am reading. Give me 1 second. All right. Yes. There we go. Okay. So NAACP reiterates support for high school track star accused of hitting opponent with baton. So this, of course, Virginia News, Fox 8. The IC Norcom student and tracks another generated Thursday that the incident did not support him. He said IC Norcom track star Alia Everett, through tears during a community meeting and rallied to support her. There is nobody else who wanted to hear my story except for people that know me and people that know I would never do anything like that. I would never harm anybody. I'm not a fighter. I'm not confrontational. I wouldn't be that local student. And track star made the charge stemming against her. Brookville High School junior Kaylin Tucker doing the 4x2 and a possible skull fracture as a result of the incident. And the Everett family has been served with court papers as a apologize. Everett has maintained that the incident was an accident and had attempted to reach out to apologize to Tucker on social media, but was blocked. At the community meeting in rally to support Everett, Portsmouth NAACP President James Boyd told 10 on Your Sides, or Keisha Jackson, that he and the organization were concerned about the racial slurs toward the Everett family, and that the matter is now in the court system, saying it was not warranted. They once again expressed their thoughts and prayers for both the runners impacted and their families. Boyd said the Lynchburg NAACP held a meeting Thursday morning with the city's Commonwealth Attorney Bethany Harrison and confirmed the charges were not brought forth by her office. We say unequivocally that Alia is not an attacker. She's not a criminal. And any headline that says that is a violation of her due process rights. Boyd said that we feel the criminal justice system should not be used in this situation, and for charges of assault and battery to be levied against her, you have to consent and maliciousness. And those things, and her family will continue to want you all to tap in. Let us know, what do you think about this particular situation? Should this young lady be supported? Right? Should criminal charges be filed? Want to hear from you all in terms of your thoughts on on this particular issue taking place, of course, in Virginia. Many of you may have seen the video of the young lady passing her, of course, and then as a result, it appeared, at least from what I saw, she struck her in the head with a baton. The young lady fell down, and I believe received medical attention, and they was able to find that she, of course, had a concussion, right? Even maybe in a skull. They believe that there may even be a skull fracture, and so what I found out rather curious. Of course, I can understand taking umbrage, taking issue with the racial slurs being directed at the family. I can only imagine what was being said. Oh, you raised this young lady to be a thug, so on and so forth. We understand that. But there are a number of other issues. One, having a rally on a young lady's behalf. I don't understand that. The fact that the young lady in the video, and I'm not going to play the video because we seem to have some internet issues, and this has been going on maybe for the past couple of days here, crying, saying, yes, I know I hurt her, but what about my feelings? I think it's nonsensical. Right, misvisualized. So definitely want you to tap in and we could discuss why the NAACP is involved. But the NAACP is stating that she shouldn't be charged, right? Now, I understand oftentimes when there are issues between young people, particularly if they're minors under the age 18, there may be physical altercation in school, so on and so forth. We don't want to criminalize them, right? We don't want to have to be their foray into the criminal justice system, particularly while they're minor. Unfortunately, young people are known to engage in these type of attacks or incidents, as long as someone is not seriously hurt, right? The concern here is the fact that the young lady suffered a concussion and possibly actual damage to her skull. And I would argue, based on the damage that was done, the harm, it would warrant, right, that charge. But it's a misdemeanor charge. I'm quite sure it may be a situation in which the charge is dismissed to a lower charge. You may have to do in lieu of conviction, something like that. The issue I have is, and you look at the video, it appeared that she struck her because she was upset that she passed her, right? And this was, of course, the final. This was the state final, the indoor track season. And so that's what it appeared to be. The NAACP getting involved, arguing that, I just don't understand, right? We're talking about black on black violence, whatever the reason. Of course, these are young people. But I, for the life of me, can't understand why I just don't think it's a good look for the NAACP. So once again, family, tap in. The link is in the description. I'm gonna put the link in the chat. I don't think it's a good look for the NAACP to get involved in a situation like this and actually advocate for someone, hold a rally for someone, irrespective of age, that has actually done physical harm to another black person. Right? To me, it makes no sense whatsoever. I think you can condemn the language used against, of course, the young lady and her family, the racial slurs. You could condemn all of that. But to actually, and I think rather nonsensically, hold a rally, I think that makes no sense whatsoever. So tap in, family. The link is in the description. Tap in, be part of the conversation. Let us know what you think regarding the NAACP leaders supporting this track athlete who injured another opponent. Do you agree that the young lady should be charged? Should the NAACP be holding rallies? And of course, supporting this young lady and her family. So tap in, family. Once again, the link is in the description. The link is in the chat. We want to hear from you all regarding this incident, right? This is an issue, of course, really that we talk about in the black communities at the intersection of sportsmanship, and of course, accountability. So we're talking about sportsmanship and accountability. This is a conversation we're having. Should the young lady be held accountable? Should the young lady, right, be charged? And should the NAACP be advocating for the young lady, particularly in terms of holding rallies, making public statements, press release, so on and so forth? So want to hear from you all. Once again, the link is in the description. The link also is in the chat. Want to hear from you all regarding this issue of keyword should the young lady be charged based on the incident that took place. So in fact, I'm gonna play this video for you all as well, and then we can get the conversation started.
Kaylin dropping her baton and reaching for her head. The whole Coliseum pretty much gasped. I just jumped up out of the bleachers immediately and ran to her on the main floor. The 16-year-old later diagnosed with a concussion. The family says neither the athlete who struck Kaylin nor the other team's coaches checked on Kaylin or reached out afterwards. To see that they kept running and she not stopped and told my daughter, that was the part I was like, it couldn't have been an accident.
Everybody has feelings. So you're physically hurt, but you're not taking up my mental, right?
For the Everett family, many community members came. The rally also attended by the Portsmouth NAACP president, James Boyd. And James is actually here now. He's going to join me for a live interview. And James, you know, the Portsmouth NAACP put out a statement in reference to the incident. Why was that so important for you all to do?
Very important for us to do. One, because of the reaction that we were seeing, racial slurs and things being launched towards the Everett family, but also we were concerned about charges being filed against Athetle, and we feel that the legal system should not be used in this system. It is in this situation, and it's not warranted, and so we thought that it was very important that we stood with this family and stood on that principle.
Let's come here. All right, so you all saw the video. It looked rather clear and apparent to me that she struck the young lady purposely, right? That's what it looked like to me. So tap in, be part of the conversation. We'd love to hear from you all, hear what you all have to say about this issue. As I stated, to me, it looked rather clear that she struck the young lady purposely. Rather unfortunate, as we stated, as you saw in the video, young lady was later diagnosed with a concussion. Should the young lady be charged? What does it say about the Black community when we talk about the intersection of sportsmanship and, of course, accountability? And should the NAACP be involved? Should the NAACP be advocating for this young lady, holding rallies, press conferences, giving, of course, interviews? Seems nonsensical to me, but hey, I'm just one person. Tap in, be part of the conversation. You're watching, of course, LaMumaSpeaks.com, a Black empowerment initiative where we believe we could gain a competitive advantage by always betting on Black, in conjunction with Beacon Line Network, the Pan-African social media extraordinaire, and the home of African-centered news and information. The link is in the description. The link is in the chat. Also, as you all know, you do not have to cam up. You do not have to cam up to be part of the conversation. And you can use a pseudonym to protect your identity. I want to hear from you all in terms of what you all think about this particular issue. Right. And I understand, I don't think I'm the best sportsman. I could just put that out there. Growing up when I was a young man playing sports, you know, if we lost, I typically didn't want to shake hands. I'm just going to be completely honest with you. But I never engaged in this type of behavior where it looked rather clear to me that she literally was upset that the young lady passed her and reached back and hit the young lady upside the head with the baton. Snapshot reviews from the UK. What are your thoughts, brother?
Good evening. I missed your intro, but I have seen this story. I think that girl hit her in the head deliberately. It
looks like it, doesn't it?
Right. It's because the way you would hold a baton like that and would be running, there is no, you wouldn't twist your wrist for it to be on the side for you to hit the person, because that girl would have been on her right-hand side. But when you look at the video, when you see the track, when you see the angle from the back, the baton is angled, and it's only going to be angled because you're going to hit a person on the right-hand side. If you were running with the baton, it would be straight in your hand, going up and down in a straight motion. It's not in a motion to hit someone. She blatantly hit her, and then when the girl ran off to the side of the track holding her head, she looked at her because she knew that she hit her.
Right.
This goes back to like what you were saying in another stream about people making excuses for the people that are doing bad things in the community, because what is there for this this NAACP? I know a little bit about it, but not too much. But like, it seems like they're defending her and not, and then going after the family for making a complaint about what the girl did. And I think the family said that all they wanted was an apology. And the girl could.
Well, they yes, the family said that they received an apology from, let me get this right, from the coach. I mean, I'm sorry, the athletic department of the school, and I believe also from maybe the parent or father, but not from the young lady herself.
Yeah, but not the lady herself, not the mum, no one else, and she's sitting there crying because she's been caught out. And it's like, why are you running to her aid when a girl did the young lady get a concussion or something like that?
And that's the issue that I had. I can understand somebody maybe saying, listen, you know, right, they're minors, right? Maybe she's suspended for the rest of the season. I can understand that. But when a person suffers a serious injury, and in my book, and I think most reasonable people would argue, a concussion is a serious injury, right? That's when I would say, okay, I understand someone, you know, the parents going and saying we're going to file charges and doing the responsible thing rather than saying we're going to go out and retaliate on behalf of our child. I think the other issue here is the NAACP leader stated that, you know, her having this charge could prevent her from going into college. I would agree with that, but that's something you should have considered before you did what you did.
Yeah, that's not my
you are charged, and even if you do, I would argue more than likely she's going to plead to a lesser charge. Then she would probably have to go to maybe a community college and then go ahead and go to a 4-year, something like that, or work to then, you know, do the probation and then pay off the fines, court costs, do the community service, and then of course have it expunged and go about your life. But the fact that my issue is that the young lady suffered a serious injury, right? It makes no sense to me. No sense to me whatsoever.
It doesn't, but it's like it's all those things that you just listed just now is what you would have to go through if you're being held accountable. But it's almost like they just want to bypass it so that she doesn't suffer any kind of consequences for it. She has to be punished to some extent for what she's done.
Yeah. And you know that's why I keep my hands to myself so that I don't find myself coming in contact and being ensnared by the criminal justice system.
Yeah, it's true.
That's why I keep my hands to myself.
Yeah. But this NAACP, like, how does, like, say, for example, you, wherever part of the states you live in your everyday life, you have a grievance with something. How do you bring it to their attention for them to?
So, yes, the NAACP so the NAACP is National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, was created in 1909, if I remember correctly, by a lot of, in 1909, W.B. Du Bois, I think Mary Church Terrell, Ida B. Wells were some of the members, but the majority of the people who started the NAACP were white. And so the NAACP's main goal was to use the legal system as a way to advocate for equal rights for African Americans.
Right. Okay.
So they've been a very prominent protest organization, you know, fighting for Black people's rights through the court. Many people take umbrage with some of the ideology of the NAACP being integrationist, but the legal defense fund, the legal defense aspect of the NAACP still does great work in terms of advocating for African Americans having their rights, making sure their rights aren't being violated, so on and so forth.
So in this case, then, how would they have come into this thing to pick one side over the other?
Yes, that's a great point. That is a great point. What I do know in terms of the, of course, not the court, but newspaper articles I've read is that the young lady who is the perpetrator in this incident, as well as her family, were receiving. There was a cyberbullying going on where they were receiving threats, death threats, racial slurs were being, of course, hurled at her and the family. And so that's when the NAACP came out, which I could understand saying, hey, we have an issue with the racial slurs and the death threats. But I don't see how you could hold a rally for someone who blatantly physically assaulted someone because they started losing the race. I mean, that makes no sense to me whatsoever.
Nah, it doesn't make any sense at all.
And so when we talk about the intersection of sportsmanship, like let's say that I can admit I'm not a good sportsman. Anyone who has known me growing up, I'm not a good sportsman. I'm not a good loser. I have to win, or I'm not having fun.
At least you're honest about it.
I'm just being completely honest. I even taught my children to think this way, right? You want to have fun, you got to win, right? And then, but also accountability, right? I hated losing. There were times when I went to high school, we lose the football game, I wouldn't shake the other team's hands. And I remember one time my dad was like, hey, we didn't see you on the field shaking hands. I was like, yeah, I went straight to the locker room. I remember saying that to him. But I never in my mind, I told you I wasn't a good sportsman, but I never in my mind thought about physically assaulting a person just because I lost.
Yeah.
I was pissed. I was livid, as you can imagine someone who's crazy about winning is, but never did I think that way. So it's just, yeah.
I feel like if it was a genuine accident, if when the girl got hit, the other girl would have stopped running. She would have gone to see if she was all right. I think if it was a legitimate accident, I don't think she would have carried on the race. I think she would have gone to see.
I don't know, because if your goal is to win, if you accidentally hit someone, accidentally trip someone, I personally, even if it was an accident, I wouldn't have stopped. I would have tried to win the race and then went back and saw what the went supposed to happen. I mean, that's just me though.
Yeah,
because like I said, it's all about winning for me.
Yeah. But I feel like, sorry, this might be slightly different, but I think because you said that, you know, you hated to lose, and obviously no one gets into it with the idea that they're going to lose. Everyone wants to win. But I think when an athlete is scared of losing, I think that's when they lose their perspective on things, or they...
Yeah, maybe.
You know what I mean? Like, I've seen it a lot with these boxers that have like a total win streak, and they won't take on anyone who's even remotely competitive with them just because they're scared of losing that O.
But I know you in the UK, and I know in the UK they're crazy about boxing, right?
Yeah.
But there's a couple things, right? One is marketing, right? The second is it isn't like other sports, right? To where you're going to make a set amount of money no matter what. So in track and field, let's say if you win first place, you get the gold, you get 100K, silver 75, and bronze 50,000, right? Those are just numbers I'm throwing out. In boxing, if you lose your next fight, you may be fighting for peanuts.
Yeah,
because you've lost your marketability and you're not a draw anymore.
Yeah.
Right. And so that plays a role in the marketing and saying, hey, yeah, we're going to fight this guy, but we're going to take time for the fight to build and grow so that when we do fight each other, irrespective of the outcome, we're going to benefit financially. So for a great example would be when Sugar Ray Leonard lost to Roberto Duran. I believe this was in 1981 in Montreal. Right? Okay. Yeah, because matter of fact, the Summer Olympics was in Montreal in 76, and they fought at the Olympic Stadium in 81, right? For Sugar Ray Leonard's welterweight championship title belt. And after the fight, you know, everybody in Sugar Ray Leonard's corner was sad, and they stated, Sugar Ray Leonard told them when they was, you know, walking back to the locker room, they said, well, why is everyone sad? We won. We just made $20 million. So I think that plays a role as well. Man, people say it's bad for boxing, right? Because you have guys not challenging themselves. But I think there's a lot that goes into it. A lot of these guys understand they have to be their own business, right? Most fighters nowadays who are marketable, they have their own brand, right? Yeah. Because they understand that I can't do this forever, and this is the job in which I'm getting punched in the face.
But all of the greats had L's on their records. But it
was a different time. But also you have to think about back then when we talk about the greats, we could talk about the Willie Peps, we could talk about the Sam Langfords, the Henry Armstrongs, the Sugar Ray Robinsons, right? The Joe Lewises of the world, right? They were fighting sometimes once or twice a month.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have a championship fight, and 3 weeks later you're fighting again. And the reason why they were fighting so much is because they weren't making a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah, these days you're not getting these guys to fight. If you get them to fight twice in a year, you're flipping lucky.
Right.
Yeah. Well, sorry, I don't want to derail your conversation, your show too much.
Okay.
Very quickly.
I think that was a great segue.
The other day you had a show, Pan-Africanism, and I think it was talking about people that have a conservative outlook, and is it helping, or where is Pan-Africanism going? It was a show you did a couple of days ago, but I couldn't tune in to it because it was a late one. Anyway, at the end of that show, you said you were going to do a part 2, but I didn't get.
Yes, I was going to do a part 2. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Do you know when you're going to? Do you know when you're going to do that?
It'll be this week.
Oh, okay, all right then. I'll keep a lookout on your channel because I wanted
to.
Yeah,
it was addressing the current state of Pan-Africanism. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Addressing the current state of Pan-Africanism.
Yeah, that one.
Are we headed for community or chaos?
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
And so we would do a part 2.
Okay.
And this is just because some of the issues we find that we're discussing here, we discussed on a live, and the lack of accountability.
Yeah.
Like if people aren't behaving in a manner that is above board, why are they part of an organization? Why are they coming to initiatives? Why do you know this? Why do people know these things and they still allow these people to come and have speaking engagements? There's no accountability whatsoever.
Yeah.
This is a problem. And for example, there's never been a time in my life, and this is anecdotal, of course, but I think this speaks to the way I was raised by my parents, in which I did something wrong and I cried about being held accountable. Now I cried when I was getting my behind whooped. Right? I mean, I was crying then, but never. It never worked. I remember my daughter tried it with me when she was young. I'm like, that ain't gonna work on me. You might as well stop right now. And she literally was like, yeah, I said, that doesn't work over here. You didn't cry when you did it. Don't be crying when you got to deal with the consequences.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And so that lack, when we know the proverb states the ruin of a nation begins in the homes of its people, because I'm going to be honest with you. If that was my child, my daughter who did something like that, she would be begging the police to take her to jail. Because it would be hell or high water in my home. Yeah. Literally. Because I would have went through the roof. You're embarrassing me. You're embarrassing the family name. You are embarrassing our race.
And it's interesting that the father apologized. He was the one to do it, but not the mum or the daughter. That's interesting as well. But where do you think this goes? Like, how far do you think this? To what extent is the NAACP going to be involved in this, or like what do you?
Mr. Sandman, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, this is a new development for me. I wasn't aware that the NAACP were going to what they're going to represent the young lady in legal proceedings.
They've been advocating for her. Yes.
Oh, they're just advocating for her.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, to me it looked like she hit her. You know what I mean? I've never been like a well, I've ran track before, and I ran like on a relay team before, and I've never but we stayed in our own lanes, so I've never had an issue where when we were passing a baton that it was necessary for one of us to go cock back and hit another person in the back of the head. I guess they were like converging into the same lane, and she had lost her balance or something like that. It seems like.
Right.
But it looks like the motion looked like, from the angle that they showed it on, the film looked like that she did it on purpose. So I don't know so the other the victim, they're going to they're pressing charges, or what's going on?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, they're going to press charges.
They already have.
All right. Yeah. So they're just going to advocate for her in hopes that she doesn't, I don't know. Who seek the representation of the NCAA? Was it her parents, or did they just step up, randomly?
Well, no. So the NAACP just decided to inject themselves in the situation, and they felt that they even held a rally supporting the perpetrator. Like, what the French toast is going on here? Yeah, well, we talking about this East Coast. Hey, Sam, man, this East Coast, man, that's your lane. We don't do that out here in the Midwest.
Okay, where are they at? Where they in?
They're in Virginia.
They're in Virginia. Oh no, we're not like that's below the meridian line.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so they're a little bit different than us, but
yeah, it's just strange. And of course, I understand. Don't mean to cut you off. I understand them taking issue and umbrage with the racial epithets and death threats that reportedly the perpetrator's family received. I could understand them making a statement, this is unacceptable, but to actually come out and hold a rally, say this young lady, that to me is nonsensical. Like I said, it highlights the lack of accountability in our community. Because if a white young lady did this to her, or an Arab young lady did this to her, or a Latino young lady did this to her, or an Oriental young lady did this, or a Jewish young lady did this to her, guess what they would say? This highlights the ubiquitous nature of anti-Blackness.
When Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark were having their little thing, did the NAACP get involved in that?
No.
That's interesting. I mean, I don't think their beef was as serious as this, but they were. The media seemed to have spun it like they were abject rivals and stuff like that. And I think Angel Reese was getting some abuse online, but I don't.
Yes, I would presume that she was. I do know some of the comments made about her was the fact that many people say that she's not as talented as Caitlin Clark. I would agree. Angel Reese in her first year, her rookie in the WNBA, people say she averaged a double-double. She averaged 13 points, I believe, 10 rebounds, but she shot only 38% from the field. And when you're talking about being a power forward in the center, that is absolutely atrocious. 38% of the field is horrible for any position.
Right. Okay.
So she's, and I hate to say this, and I've talked about this before. She would, if she just was playing against guys, just running in high school, she would be outclassed. And I can say this because I've actually got on the basketball court against a all-conference Division I women's college basketball player, and played her one-on-one, and I won 11-2. And I haven't played basketball since my son was born.
Wow.
And I beat her 11-2. It was easy money.
Well, how tall are you?
I'm 6 foot.
Oh, just straight up, and you beat her that easy?
Yeah.
How tall is she?
She was what, 5'8", 5'9"?
Okay, so she was like a point guard or something.
A combo guard.
Oh, okay, yeah, because I remember when I was in high school, one of the girls on the basketball team, she actually made it to the WNBA. I remember we was kids. I guess so she can refine her game and make herself a little bit tougher. She used to pick up games with the guys.
Yep, absolutely. They play against the guys, and they're big on that. Like, I got to play against the guys. I'm like, what? Well, but the thing is, because people say, well, you're just saying this and you haven't actually. I'm like, no, I have. It's no competition. And part of it is just the lack of athleticism, the lack of competitive athleticism. Bigger, stronger, faster.
Well, that's the same thing that happened with the Williams sisters when they were when they walked into a tennis club, and there were some guys there that were like good amateurs, but they weren't professionals, and I think they beat them quite easily.
Right, but the thing is, the Williams sisters never said that they were better than men. They always admitted if we were on a men's circuit, we would be getting our butts kicked.
We'd get beaten. Yeah. So with this NAACP, are they?
Yes, sir.
Would you consider them to be a Pan-African organization, or are they?
No. The NAACP is not a Pan-African organization. NAACP is one of the big six civil rights organizations that were integrationist organizations. When we say big six, and Mr. Sandman, you could back me up here. We're talking about CORE, the Congress of Racial Equality. We're talking about SNCC, which at one point under the leadership of Kwame Ture, also known as Stokely Carmichael, became a Black nationalist organization. We're talking about, of course, the NAACP. We're talking about the SCLC, and we're talking about the Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters and Maids. I think there's one or more that I left out. But these were integrationist organizations, not Pan-Africans or Black nationalist organizations.
Okay, all right. And in terms of them being an entity and stuff, have they been like helpful to the community in America, or that seen as just a tokenistic thing, or is it?
No, I can give them props. I'm not going to sit up here and say they did not make any content. Oh, in the National Urban League. So the Big Six is, of course, the National Urban League, NAACP, Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters and Maids, the First Black Union, SNCC, Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, CORE, Congress of Racial Equality, then, of course, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. Those are the big six civil rights organizations that came into fruition and prominence in the 50s and 60s. They all were, of course, integrations organizations. Yes, I'm not going to sit up here and lie. They have made contributions to the betterment of Black life here in America.
Okay. And where do they stand on reparations?
To say that they haven't would be disingenuous.
What are their thoughts on reparations?
Well, I've actually, if you go onto their website, I've actually read it, and they have a memorandum on their website stating that they're something about they had a legal represent or some type of legal document stating that black people are owed reparations because after the Civil War, the commander of the Union Army stated that to the free slaves that they were supposed to have their own land, and they were trying to push that document. I don't know if it's still up on their website, but I did notice that about a year ago or so. Yeah, I did notice that they were pro reparations. I don't know if they staying with that stance.
Okay. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, but it's interesting that they are going to represent this one young lady, and Dr. Lumumba made a great point. He said that if it was a young lady of a different race, it would be outrage. So what you're going to be doing is, to a certain extent, is you're going to give less validity to civil rights actions in the future. If something like this happens again, they're going to say, well, you're doing all of this you're doing all of the protesting because a white girl did it, but when the black girl did it, you were trying to unify everybody and bring us together. Right. So what are you really all about?
Because the issue here is violence is violence and bigotry is bigotry, even if that violence and bigotry is intracommunal, right? So I can engage in misogynoir and still be black, right? You could be an anti-black misandrist and be black, and you be a black man, right? So it's head scratching to me. I think it hurts our credibility globally and nationally, right? Because if you're advocating for black people, you're advocating for black people, irrespective of who's victimizing black people. That's my position. Right. I'm not, for example, and I'm going to use a colorful example. So please forgive me, brothers on the panel, and then of course anyone who's watching. But we know that blank trafficking, ex-trafficking is a serious issue. We know childhood sexual predation is a serious issue. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I assume so. I hear stuff on the news, but I've never actually been involved or seen anything like it.
Right. If we find out that the person who is the perpetrator is black, we're not gonna. I would hope no one would then say, "Well, since the person's black, we don't want them to go to prison." That's nonsensical to me.
Yeah.
But this is what this is an example of, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Well, the only positive angle I can see about the NAACP stepping in is they're saying that, hey, let's let us take charge and let us disseminate the punishment or the retribution that needs to be handed down to these two individuals, and let us as a black community determine that, as opposed to going to a white court to have them decide what happens to them.
Is that sort of infrastructure?
Yeah, I would disagree. From what I saw, that's not what they stated in any way, shape, or form. They didn't say anything about, well, let us, be the entity to hold these young people accountable. Secondly, the NAACP doesn't have the capacity to hold those young people accountable because they are a protest organization.
If you wanted to meet with a representative from the NAACP, how accessible are they? Is it?
You typically go. You can contact your most NAACPs have a office in each metropolitan area.
Okay, all right. So
that's what one would do.
So you could ask them what is their perspective, what is their point of view for getting involved in this, and what is their angle, sort of thing.
If I was to take a guess,
I would argue their point of view and angle doesn't matter. And this is just my personal opinion. If you are the parent, right, of the child who was physically assaulted, I don't think there's a need to go to them and say, "Hey, what do you think about this?"
No, but I guess what I was trying to say was because I don't understand why they're sticking up for the perpetrator in this instance. As a citizen, could could I ask them, what is the NAACP's thinking in representing this person who is seen on camera as being the perpetrator and making all these excuses for this person? Like, what is
my guess is, you might could call me, somewhat conspiracy theorist, but my guess is the Trump administration ended DEI, which means diversity, equity, inclusion, which states that you can't base any litigation based on someone's color and stuff like that. So I think you're starting to see the writing on the wall. NAACP, based on this administration, they won't be getting funding from the government for the actions that they do present themselves in, because the president is trying to get rid of DEI. So they're probably just trying to make the presence known so they can keep getting their funding. Because I think charitable
I don't
organizations
understand. I don't see the connection. What do you mean?
Well, all right. So if the president is getting rid of DEI, then he's that's the beginning steps of getting rid of all civil rights actions that might be litigated in the government.
But the NAACP doesn't get the bulk of the NAACP's funding comes from private companies.
Oh, it does. Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought it was
we're talking about
it might come
typically.
We're
talking
but
about alcohol, beer companies are the primary funders of the NAACP.
Yeah, but here's the thing though, because the president got rid of the DEI, right? If you're funded by a private company and you're giving donations to the NAACP, right, then you can write that off as a tax write-off. But if the president gets rid of DEI, he's going to say that you can't write it off as a tax write-off.
That's not the case. No, that's not the case, because the NAACP is a nonprofit organization. If you are a private company, business, and you give money to a nonprofit, you are able to write that off in your taxes. Doesn't matter what the organization is.
If the organization states that they're specifically for one race, then that would be a violation of the DEI.
Yeah, once again, it doesn't matter. You still would be able to write that off in your taxes. And that's not what that's not the purpose of the NAACP. Let me bring this up. The NAACP there, it states on their website that the purpose of the NAACP is to ensure the political, educational, social, and economic equality of rights of all persons and to eliminate racial hatred and racial discrimination.
Yeah, because my son, right, he's a part of a black organization for youth, and they get funded or they get funded by private organizations to go on their debate team. And they said that they can't go on their debate tournament this year because of DEI.
Right, I understand that, but that's the NAACP. That's not how they how they operate. Their funding comes mostly from private organizations. And the reason why I say that is because at one point I was a member of the NAACP. I would go to their defense fund banquets and dinners, and the keynote speaker would be Vice President of Marketing at Anheuser-Busch, Senior VP at Ciroc, right? Vice President from Newport's, the cigarette company. So the majority of their funding comes from private organizations.
Do you think that's part of the problem? Because if it's a organization that's supposed to be there for a certain community, and the community aren't funding it, or the majority funders, they then follow other people's agendas.
Absolutely. I'm torn between if these sentiments of her innocence are legit, or is this a small town VA looking for attention? This is from Trey. Make sure y'all hit that super chat as well, family. Make sure you hit the super chat. Possible fractured skull. Absolutely misvisualized. Hopefully you can tap in, sister. We definitely need some sisters to be part of the conversation. Please tap in. As you know, you do not have to cam up. You do not have to cam up to be part of the conversation. You can use a pseudonym to be part of the combo. Should be banned from the sport charges found. So I would definitely argue if there wasn't any serious injuries, she would have to be banned, suspended for the rest of the school year, right? From the sport, right? That's just number one.
What are the sport board saying about all of this? Oh, sorry, go on.
Real quick, the baton is a very light material. It took a huge impact force to cause a fractured skull. Absolutely, yes. I ran track when I was a kid. Yes. So yes, very light material. Doing very well today, brother. Appreciate the question. The law applies to all people. Facts. For this issue, NAACP appears of entitlement and privilege. So yeah, tap in, Mr. Visualize. I definitely love to hear from you. Get your thoughts. Family, make sure you hit the super chat. And make sure you watch, if you're watching, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Make sure you hit the subscribe and notification bell. You're watching, of course, LumumbaSpeaks.com, MB Quran Network, the Pan-African social media extraordinaire, and the home of African-centered news and information. Go right ahead, Snapshot.
Yeah, so what are the sporting bodies saying about this? What's their opinion?
Say that again.
The sporting body who organised the event and whoever does the rankings and all that. What's their perspective on it?
From what I read, they're still investigating in terms of what possible consequences or discipline the young lady will face.
And the victim's family, could they have a legal case against the sport board?
Well, yeah, right, absolutely. And I think what could happen is, of course, the family could sue the school district and the state for failure to protect. They have a duty to protect the student athletes when they are participating as an athlete, student athlete in a sporting event. They can literally sue for failure to protect.
Does the young lady that hit the other girl with the baton, does she have a history, any criminal history at all?
No.
So this is like a first offense.
Doesn't matter, in my opinion.
Well, I'm just talking about in the court of law when they're trying to prosecute her.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, she wouldn't get stroked or anything like that.
Huh?
Yeah, she wouldn't get stroked, right? But once again, if I was the parent, I would sue for failure to protect.
Yeah, that's civilly. Yeah, so yeah, the parents definitely have a case there.
And if you watch the video, it's obvious that she cocked back and hit that young lady upside the head. I mean, you can't gaslight us and tell us we didn't see what we saw.
Yeah. And I don't know, just the way she was crying and all of that, it was just like, you're only crying because you've been caught. Like, you're not really remorseful or sorry or anything like that, man.
Being held accountable, absolutely.
Yeah. How old are they? Are they?
I don't know the ages, but I know the young lady, I believe, who was the perpetrator was a senior. The young lady who was the victim was a junior.
Oh wow! Okay.
So we could presume between the ages of 16 and 18.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
So let me ask you all this question: should the young lady be charged?
Should she be charged?
You talking about should the DA of Virginia bring up charges against the young lady?
So the young lady has been charged with a crime, right? But I'm asking you, do you believe the young lady should be charged with a crime?
Oh, I think that, first she has to have a trial. And no,
I'm saying, should she be charged? Right, a trial that comes after you've been charged. I'm saying, should she be charged with a crime?
Oh, okay, so she has. If she's already been charged.
So do you agree? Or let me put it this way: do you agree that she should be charged?
I think so, because it looked deliberate. If it was a case where it was a genuine accident and she showed remorse and she was like, oh, I would have never have done that, like, and you could see that she went to check on her well-being after the race, if you're not going to stop mid-race or whatever, then maybe not. But this looked deliberate to me, so I think she should be charged.
Okay.
Yeah, she should be charged, and she's innocent until proven guilty.
And if she is found guilty, what would that punishment then be? You just do something.
Well, I mean, it could range. It could range from months in a county jail to probation, community service, anger management, all type of stuff. I mean, you get put on probation, there are a number of stipulations that the court can.
I mean, I think community service is fair enough. I don't think she needs to go to jail for it, but I think community service would be good. I think a good punishment.
I mean, smashing someone over the head is like a very serious offense, and I've seen people get like attempted murder charges for it, for like hitting somebody in the head with a pipe. So, what exactly did she get charged with? I think the biggest thing is you have to it has to be determined whether or not she's a danger to society.
Right. Because, she was charged with assault and battery.
Assault.
A misdemeanor count of assault and battery.
Yeah.
So let me, family, I'm going to read the Portsmouth NAACP's statement, right, that they released on March 11th. So let me read the statement to you all. This is, and Sister Miss Visualize, she said that this is an issue of entitlement and privilege. Tap in and just unpack how so, because I'm not understanding where the entitlement and privilege comes in. So hopefully you can educate me there on the issue of entitlement and privilege. So here we go. Portsmouth NAACP reviewing circumstance at track competition. We have and will continue to review the circumstances surrounding Aaliyah Everett, a student at IC Norcombe High School that occurred during a track and field competition this past Tuesday. At the outset, we want to express our deepest thoughts and prayers to Aaliyah and the Everett family during this difficult time. Once again, Miss Everett, if I remember correctly, is the perpetrator. The level of attention that they have received has been overwhelming and in many cases extremely concerning. We have been in communication with Aaliyah's parents, who both deeply care about their family, IC Norcombe High School, and our Portsmouth community. Additionally, we would like to express our thoughts and prayers to the Tucker family during this time and wish them well. Our review of the situation has been focused not only on the events that happened on Tuesday during the track and field competition, but also on the response in which racial slurs and death threats have been leveled towards Aaliyah and her family. These matters have been brought to our attention, as well as the possibility of pending criminal charges, which we view with deep concerns. First, we want to make it abundantly clear that we denounce any type of racial slur or threat in any form towards anyone involved in the situation. We will use every resource within our disposal to ensure those individuals who use slurs or death threats are reported and held accountable to the fullest extent of the law. Understandable. Furthermore, we encourage our community to report these incidents to local authorities or bring it to our attention, as hate speech, slurs, or threats on the basis of race will not be tolerated. Additionally, it has been brought to our attention that criminal charges may be pending because of the circumstances that occurred this past Tuesday. We have been in communication with our Lynchburg NAACP branch leaders, as well as our Virginia State Conference representative concerning this possibility. We are committed collectively to ensuring that the criminal justice system, which we feel is not warranted in this situation, is executed fairly and based on due process. We encourage Liberty University authorities in the Commonwealth to exercise caution and restraint in this situation. As the individuals involved are minors, we will continue to advocate for Aaliyah's record to remain void of any criminal proceedings. Aaliyah is not an attacker, and media headlines that allude towards that in any way is shameful. We understand the sensitivity of the circumstances for both athletes and their families involved, but this narrative must not go unaddressed. Aaliyah is an honor student and a star athlete at the historic IC Norcombe High School. From all accounts, she is an exceptional young leader and scholar whose athletic talent has been well documented and recognized across our state. She has carried herself with integrity both on and off the field, and any narrative that adjudicates her guilty of any criminal activity is a violation of her due process rights. Our hope is that this situation can be resolved with both athletes continuing to their athletic pursuits without any implications. And we will continue to express that both publicly and privately as necessary. We will have further statements as necessary as the situation resolves.
I think it's legit. I think it's a legit statement. I don't know if you ever been to Virginia before, but it does have a history of being of a pretty racist state, you know.
All of them,
And
all
even
of America, every state in America has that history.
well, the thing is, us people on the East Coast, when we drive on I-95, that's the interstate line that goes up
I'm
entire
familiar.
East Board. Yeah, we're always cognizant of whenever we enter Virginia because we know about the cops and the history there. Also, there was a case. You remember Allen Iverson when he was in high
Yes, I'm
school?
familiar with Allen Iverson. Yes,
Yeah, he was
I'm
almost
familiar with
got.
the situation.
Yeah, he got charged when he had gotten into a brawl with some white kids
Actually,
at
he
a
wasn't even
bowling
involved
alley
in the
here in
brawl.
Virginia. Yeah,
He
and they were
wasn't even
trying to
involved
charge
in the
him.
brawl. Very quickly, he wasn't even involved with the brawl. If you actually watch the video, when the fight started, he actually was shown on video leaving. He wasn't
Oh
even
yeah,
involved.
yeah, but I think they were trying to charge him with something really
No,
really
they didn't try.
serious.
They did charge him, and he was convicted. And he spent about a year and a half in prison.
Yeah, so Virginia has a history of being really tough on black people when they charge them with the penal
Every
system.
state in America, in this country, has that history.
Yeah, maybe so.
Every state in this country has a
Well,
history
I would just
of
say
anti-blackness in the criminal justice system.
I would just say just go to Virginia and you tell me if you think it's any different than other states.
It would, trust me, I've been in the deep south. It's all the same. It's the same. It's telling you, this is America. I've been all over this country.
And as far as her getting charged, like I said before, you know what I mean, she doesn't have any priors, and if you know she is getting death threats or a whole lot of racial slurs getting thrown her way, then I guess it is the duty of the NAACP to step in for that. Because if it was another sporting event, let's say basketball or a football game, where the kids got into a scuffle when one of the kids, you know, was injured, we wouldn't necessarily see all of this all over the news, you know. And I don't know if charges would be brought up on the other kid. Maybe so. It depends on, you know, how intentional it might seem. But some sports can be physical in that way where it's hard to determine what was intentional and what wasn't. But I know whenever I played football, my intention was to hurt the person, not break a bone or nothing, but to make them feel the pain, you know. So
right.
I feel like I've got a better understanding of where they're coming from now, because yeah, if the young lady doesn't have any priors and they know that the minute she's entered into that criminal law system, she's going to be treated unfairly like any other state, then I can kind of understand their reason to intervene now the way that they have. Because I think if she hasn't had any priors beforehand, you know, a couple of hours of some community service hours, I think that's probably as far as the punishment kind of needs to go.
I would disagree, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because there are numerous black young people, and by young people I would argue maybe 16 to 22, who have no priors and are charged with a crime in the state of Virginia, and the NAACP doesn't come running to their defense. Right now,
yeah.
I can understand the NAACP. I can understand the NAACP repudiating the hate speech, the racial slurs, and the death threat. That aspect of the statement, no problem with it. But when you start arguing that this young lady shouldn't be held accountable, when she caused this young lady a concussion and a possible skull fracture, get the French, I can't take you serious.
Yeah, but I'm not saying that she shouldn't be held accountable. I just think that the punishment needs to fit the crime.
Well, so here's the thing. One, she's simply been charged. We don't even know what the punishment will be because she hasn't been convicted.
Yeah, but if they're, and that's the thing, if they're getting involved because they think that the punishment is going to be extreme against what the actual crime was, then I can understand for them getting involved, if that makes sense.
Well, so here's the thing. You know how you solve that problem? And this is a conversation I have had with my children. This is a conversation I have with my students. The best way to combat the criminal justice system is to not get involved in it.
Yeah, sure.
Don't you cannot gain illicit sympathy from me when you're guilty.
That's fine.
You
But
can't.
okay. But we're at where we're at with this. She's already done it. So she's already done the crime, and yes, she needs to be held accountable for it. All I'm saying is I understand now why they're getting involved. The question I would have though is if these were two black males that had a clash on the track, would they get involved, or are they getting involved just because it's a female or whatnot? But we'll never know the answer to that. But I'm just saying that I can understand now what their reason for getting involved is, if they feel that she's going to be, if the punishment that she's going to get is going to be way beyond what is reasonable for the crime that she's committed. Then right. I can understand that. That's all I'm saying.
Well, that happens for everyone, right? Visualize. I need you to tap in, be part of the conversation. I still think it's hypocritical because, as I said before, hundreds, even thousands of Black people every day are ushered into the criminal justice system, typically on trumped up charges. This isn't even a trumped up charge, right? Yeah. And we don't find the NAACP advocating for them, right? I think this is nonsensical. I think this highlights, this is my opinion, and I definitely want some people to tap in and actually be part of the conversation. This highlights the lack of accountability in our community, right? If that was my child, trust me, my daughter wouldn't be running track anymore, period. You understand? My daughter would have had a public apology. She would have wrote a letter apologizing, and she would have contacted the young lady and her family apologizing. And in her statement, she would have said, "It is obvious based on my actions that I am not mature enough to be a student athlete." I don't play those type of games, at least not in my household. And you know why? Because that's the way I was raised.
Yeah.
Right is right, wrong was wrong. I don't give a damn what the race, what the gender, what the sexual orientation, what the ethnicity, what the protected status is. This behavior is unacceptable.
Yeah, unacceptable. I'm totally with you with it. I'm not saying that she should be like excused from any kind of accountability or anything like that. I'm just saying that I think I understand why they've got involved. But like you say, there are other cases that they don't get involved with, and you probably argue. Can they? Yeah,
because the NAACP, they are in the statement they stated that they don't think she should be charged at all.
Oh yeah, well that's a bit too far.
what defense are we talking about here? The young lady has a concussion and a possible skull fracture.
Yeah.
You want to be honest? If you and I did that, Sandman did that, we're facing a felony charge. Am I right or wrong, Mr. Sandman?
Oh, absolutely.
We're facing felony charges. They hit her with a misdemeanor.
Oh, the funny thing is, if a police officer clocks you up beside the head with one of his baton and gives you a cushion, he's not facing any charges though.
Yeah. So this is hypocrisy of the highest order. Yeah, absolutely. See,
the only thing though, I believe the NAACP is right. It is a little bit unfair for it to get as much media attention as it's getting, because a lot of these media outfits are kind of like smelling the blood in the water is going to blow this.
And you know what my answer to that is? If you do not want to receive unfair media attention, do not knowingly engage in socially deviant behavior on camera.
Yeah.
You're getting this media attention because of something you did. So I don't want to hear it. See, that was my child. I would have lost my mind. Don't complain about the blowback and the backlash based on something you did. That's what comes with it. When you engage in socially deviant behavior in public, right? Guess what happens? People are going to talk about it. That's what it is. That comes with the territory.
Yeah.
So you learned your lesson. Guess what? Like we get in trouble at school. Guess what happened? You get your behind whooped. Then you learn your lesson. If I don't want to get my behind whooped, don't be acting a fool at school. You don't want to. You don't want to be arrested. You don't want to be charged with a crime. Keep your French toast hands to yourself.
If this same incident was to happen at a all-white school with two white girls, what do you think the media attention would it be around it? Would we hear anything about it?
I don't know. Don't care. Because I think we need to have media attention here to hopefully dispel our young people from engaging in this type of activity.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
Seriously, you got a concussion, a skull fracture? This young lady can have an aneurysm, for crying out loud, and be out of here.
Yeah.
And we worried about the damn media? Do you know how hard you got to hit somebody with a baton, how light those things are? It's like a paperweight. No. And we're crying about media attention. No, absolutely not. Disgraceful. Disgraceful. This is one of the politics. Remember, the African proverb states what? The ruin of a nation begins in the homes of its people. We have two enemies, black people. Two enemies. One is internal, the other is external. See, it's easy to be gun-ho, black-minded when the enemy's external. You could be Mr. and Miss Negro and advocate against the external enemy. What about the internal enemy? What about the racially disempowering, self-defeating, and self-destructive ways that we live our daily lives? The dysfunctional behavior that we normalize and accept on a diurnal basis. Show me how black you are then. Are you going to address that? French toast, no.
Yeah, that's
what did Athetle Shakur say in her memoir? For the true revolutionary, the revolution starts with what? Yourself.
Yeah, that's the plight of the African American in America, whereas though the majority rules. So we'll never have the benefit of the doubt in that situation. Maybe if this would happen in Africa, it might be something different. We would handle it internally, but you know, we're not in control of these things. Only thing that we can do is like being as the minority in this country or the group that has less power is to like, you know, stay on our P's and Q's more so that we don't get exploited by the media.
And if you fail to show yourself,
another thing is we need to like increase our population, you know. So if the Latinos are even starting to outnumber us now. So
they already have. They already have. Well, here's the issue: if you fail to control yourself, somebody else will. That's simple. If you fail to control yourself, somebody else will.
What did you just say about the Latinos?
The Latinos are the largest minority group in America now.
Yeah, they outnumber African Americans now. And the funny thing, I don't know if you know this, but snapshot, but it used to be a time that it was almost a 50-50 split. You know, after the African Americans got freed in slavery, as far as population wise, it was a lot of us. You know,
50-50 split between whom?
I said almost a 50-50 split between the blacks and the whites.
No, that's never been the case. That's never been the case.
How many people was in America in 1865?
All right, I'm about to pull up the 1870 U.S. Census. Right, 1870 U.S. Census. Total population was 38 million. Most populous state was New York. And drum roll, please. Let's see here. Well, no, because at the end of slavery, there was only 4 million black people in America. It was only 4 million of us. The total population in the United States was 38 million.
What percentage is that? That's still 13%?
Let's see here.
Yeah, probably. It's just over 10%, isn't it? It's about, I think it's about 12-13%, isn't it?
Yeah, because that's why they had started
10%. It's close to 10%, almost a little bit more than 10%.
Yeah, because
but
we had the Jim Crow laws in the South.
50. In fact, there were laws created to make sure. I'm sorry.
I was saying that we actually had black senators in Washington because we had such a large population in the South.
Well, but that was also due to Reconstruction. So black people are actually allowed to vote, so on and so forth. And there are some aspects of the South in which in some towns or counties, black people are the majority. right, in a particular county or city. However, there isn't a state in this country in which Black people are the majority population. And that's never been the case. Never been the case. So as I say, the 1870 U.S. Census, African Americans made up 4 million African Americans, roughly, give or take, in America. The American population at the time was 38 million. So there's never been a situation where it was roughly 50-50.
So
I have to look at those stats. I've seen that before, and I'll have to just double check them stats.
Yeah. Well,
maybe
if
it's
you saw
1870. Hold on, let me take a look myself.
That person, wherever you saw that information is false. That is adverse to the facts. To the facts.
So where we are with this
right now, African Americans we make up. Hold on, real quick. Right now, African Americans make up. We are about 45 million. For about 45 million African Americans in the United States, right? And let me see if I can pull this up very quickly. 45 million African Americans in the United States, and right now African Americans make up 12% of the population. Whites make up roughly 60% of the population. So there's no way that at one point, if it was 50-50 or close to 50-50, that all of a sudden it's 60% and 12%. That's it's not possible.
So with the story with these two young ladies, we're just waiting for the sport board to conclude their investigation, and then the story then progresses after that. Is that right?
Yes. So my presumption is that the school board will at some point suspend the young lady for the remainder of the season.
See. Okay. All right. Well, it's been a good chat. I'm gonna have to dip off because I've got to get my stuff ready for work tomorrow. But
no problem. Likewise. Appreciate everyone for tapping in. Make sure you hit that subscribe and like button, and make sure that you always bet on Black. Peace.
All right. Night.
Before you go, make sure you hit the subscribe and like button. Thank you for supporting the channel. And remember, here at Lumumba Speaks, we always bet on Black. Peace.